afternoon all. On behalf of Anna Violet Arts and Science College, Ambattur, Chennai, IQSC and Department of BCom, Accounting and Finance in association with IOT Academy, we welcome the faculties of Anna Violet Arts and Science College, Chennai and the participants joined here for the second session of National Level PDP on Basics of Research Methodology. Let me introduce the resource person of today's session, Dr. Neha Seth. Dr. Neha Seth is working as an assistant professor at School of Commerce and Management, Central University of Rajasthan. She is a PhD holder from the Department of Management Studies, Indian Institute of Technology, Roorkee, and postdoctoral from Faculty of Management, University of Delhi. She has written numerous research papers for international and national journals and has presented a number of papers in international and national conferences. Dr. Neha has delivered lectures in various academic programs at reputed institutions. She has also organized a number of events like national and international conferences, workshops, and guest lectures. We welcome you, ma'am, and with this, I hand over the session to Dr. Neha. Ma'am, please.
Thank you so much. Very good afternoon to one and all present here. So today we gathered for this second session of National Level PDP, wherein we are going to discuss about review of literature. I was seeing the schedule yesterday. I think the speaker talked about how to finalize your title and how to write abstract about your research work. So today we are going to discuss about the most critical, or I can say the most lengthiest part of your research work, especially during your PhD, that is review of literature. This is like a backbone of any research work, because till the time the backbone is not formed or till the time it is not strengthened, your research work cannot stand long, cannot go very long. Okay, it cannot have that strong existence till the time your literature of review is very strong. Okay, so far what I think, if those who are in middle phase of PhD or just begin with the PhD, they might be thinking the literature review review of literature is nothing but just a compilation of already existing research papers. But the viewpoint is little different. As I just mentioned, it is a kind of backbone to our research. Okay, so it is not just compilation of already existing papers, but it is critically analyzing those papers, arranging these papers systematically, checking these things in depth, whether these are related to your research work or not, and not just your research work, not just a broadened area, but when you are working on a particular research area, whether the papers are related to the themes or sub-themes related to your area or not. Okay, it not only include the research papers which are published, but it also include various type of print material. It may also have audio-visual material that is available. It may also include various articles that are being published in newspapers or maybe in magazines. Okay, it may also be dependent upon the personal communication you may have with somebody one-to-one, and then you gather the data. So this is just a brief about it, or I think I have just given the brief or the introduction of the topic. So moving ahead formally, I would share my slides here. Okay. So please confirm whether slides are visible.
It is visible, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So this is about today's session. Okay. So when we are talking about literature review, so as I just said, it is not just what you have to do. So it is not only about downloading a few papers which are freely available to us. Okay, putting this in one, maybe as a part of your research paper, or maybe as a part of thesis, as a chapter of your thesis, just putting some, existing papers in, or compiling these papers and giving or mentioning it as review of literature. But it is a valuable way of learning. Okay, getting closer to your topic, knowing more and more about your topic, getting into in-depth knowledge of your topic. It is something which takes the topic, the research area into your head, into your mind, by taking it off from the pages of articles, books, journals, newspapers, magazines. Okay, from wheresoever you have read about it, you have to gather the information as much as possible, and you have to think like 360 from 360-degree angle about one particular topic to know about that topic, to get into the detail of that topic. So it is not just gathering the data and putting it somewhere. Okay, I'll show you how extended this literature review could be. Okay, when we are considering a PhD, say for 3 years, so it takes around 8 to 10 months at least to complete or to have a clear view of review of literature, so as to have the clear idea about the topic. Okay, so literature review, it comprises of two words. So what do we mean by literature here? Literature basically means or it includes all the previous researches or material that is available on a particular topic. Okay, literature is abundant, but how much literature is available to your relevant topic, your particular research topic, that is relevant literature for us. Okay, the second word means review. That means explaining of what literature says. We all know what literature is. Literature is something that is existing. But when we are reviewing it, we are expressing our view based on the whatever literature or whatever content is already available. We express it in our own view. We express or we think about that literature, and we express our own views related to this, which is known as review. That is why we do review of literature, yani ke revising of existing literature. So it is misunderstood that this is something which is commonly available. So basically it is not something which is commonly available, or we can say something that is suitably summarized and available on online resources like on Wikipedia. Okay, whenever we write a term in Google, we generally get the detailed information about that particular term on Wikipedia, which is readily available. Okay, but whether the source is reliable, the answer is clear no, because every person can modify the information on Wikipedia. We have the access, we can easily modify the information on the information that is available on Wikipedia. So it is nothing which is commonly available, or it is not the common knowledge that is readily available to anyone and everyone. Okay, it is not something which is very easy to find out. We just Google it, we found the the detail about a particular topic, and we just overlooked something. This is not literature review. Just overlooking or just having the brief idea about a particular topic doesn't give you the in-depth knowledge of that particular topic. That's why I said spending 8 to 10 minutes on Google versus spending 8 to 10 months on a particular topic, reading the literature, reviewing it, okay, understanding the concept is altogether different from what is easily available on these online resources. Okay, and whatever available online is generally free nowadays. Even we have those proxy servers where we can download the articles. While there was a time when the colleges or the universities need to have that access to these databases, so that we as academician can access these research papers. But now these proxy servers are available, which is a kind of advantage for the research scholars. They can download these research papers and articles anywhere, that too free of cost. But again, we have to check whether it is reliable or not. Okay, whether it is related to our particularly to our topic or not. We have to critically analyze this. Okay, so this is actually what we mean by literature of review of literature or literature review. There are a number of definitions which are given by various universities, or there are educators, famous educators, who have given various definitions of literature review as well. But just to give this a very simple form, or explaining it into very simple language, here I have included this slide, which says that review of literature is defined as a broad, comprehensive, in-depth, systematic, and a critical review of scholarly literature. It may be unpublished scholarly print material. This is also known as grey literature. Okay, something that is unpublished, the unpublished work. The term given to this kind of literature is gray literature. This also includes the working papers which are available online but are not printed anywhere. Okay, they're not printed formally in any journal or in any magazine. It may also include audio visual material, so something that is available on YouTube. Okay, and if the source is reliable, yes, it can form the part of literature review. And something which is there on news channels, okay, yes, we can use this as a reference to be quoted in our literature review. Okay, then personal communication on the personal on a particular topic. When you are meeting some, you know, a famous personality to have idea about your research work or about your area, maybe you are interviewing some manager or some CEO of a particular company about which you are doing your research. So yes, that personal communication can also form the literature review, because during that personal communication, this person might have told you something which is not available in printing. Okay, but still it forms the part of your literature review, because this is important for us to mention this in our research. Okay, that there are certain formal definitions which are available, like H.M. Cooper has given one definition in year 1988. H.M. Cooper, which is famously known as Helen Moran Cooper. She is a famous educator and an artist. Okay, she has numerous papers published on different type of literature reviews. Going further, we will see what kind of literature reviews are available. I will also show you various type of samples, okay, based on literature review. So she defined literature review as a literature review uses its databases report of primary or original scholarship and does not report new primary scholarship itself. So basically, according to her, literature review is something which is considering already existing or published scholarly articles, okay, or research papers. They themselves don't give any or publish anything new, but they summarize, they review, they critically analyze, okay, systematically organize this existing literature. Okay, the primary reports used in literature may be verbal, but in the vast majority of cases, reports are written documents. So it could be verbal. Okay, there is no hard and fast rule that it has to be written, but majorly in most of the cases, this is written. Because as academicians also, we believe or we trust those research papers that are published. Okay, those theses which are submitted and are evaluated properly. Okay, so majorly these are written documents. So the types of scholarly articles, these may be empirical articles, these may be theoretical articles, critically or analytically written articles, these may be methodological articles in nature. So the articles that we are analyzing for literature review could be of any type. Okay, and then a literature review seeks to describe, summarize, evaluate, clarify, and or integrate the content of primary reports. So these primary reports are available, and in literature review, we are describing, summarizing, evaluating, clarifying, integrating these primary reports to reach to some conclusion. Okay. Then there are more definitions available related to literature review. So a literature review is an evaluative report of information found in the literature related to selected area of study. Okay, so it has to focus on selected area of study. Area of study doesn't mean when I'm talking about finance, so everything related to finance will form your literature review. It has to be narrowed down to reach to one particular field, one particular theme. Okay, the review describes, summarizes, evaluates, and clarifies the literature. It gives a theoretical base for the research and helps to determine the nature of research. Okay, what kind of research? Sometimes it also helps us in defining the methodology that we are going to pursue during our research. Okay, it helps us in framing the research question. It helps us in framing the objectives of the study. So what would be direction of our research will be based on literature review. So this definition was given by Queensland University in year 1999. Then among the most recent definitions, University of Toronto mentioned that a literature review is an account of what has been already established or published. on a particular research topic by accredited scholars and researchers. So something that is already existing, which are testified, verified, and these things, these published material, we are considering to reach to some conclusion to carry forward our research work in future. Now, what is the purpose? Why do we do literature review? Okay, so different people or different, users of research have their own type of objectives related to literature review. Like here I am talking mostly from the viewpoint of scholars and academicians, okay, because I believe that most of the participants either did their PhD or are in the process of doing their PhD. So I'm talking from their perspective. So when we are talking as teachers, when we are dealing with our students and our scholars, we see why do they do literature review? They do their literature review to get their academic scholarly papers published. Okay, so just to have that proper base to get the objectives. Okay, they do this literature review. Obviously, they don't do such extensive literature review, which is required for the thesis work, relatively less time consuming as compared to the thesis work. They do literature review to reach to some objective so that a proper paper may be formed that may be published later. Sometimes in some universities and colleges, there is a tendency wherein these PG students or MPhil students are supposed to submit their term papers. Okay, for that very purpose also, they are supposed to do literature review. Then they are doing it, this literature review for preparing presentation, etc. Okay, so when these master students or MPhil or PhD students during their coursework, when they have to present something, they need to go back to books. Then they look for different material online as well. Okay, so when they are referring material, basically they are doing literature review. They are considering ample material, they are shortlisting it, okay, to make a proper presentation related to their particular topic, okay, to their theme. Okay, that is also the way, in a way, they are doing literature review to make their presentations. They're also doing literature review for preparing their projects and research proposals. And for scholars, they are doing literature review for their thesis work as well. Okay, for master students and for MPhil students, they actually work on their projects. They make their research proposals to be presented. Okay, and further, they do their thesis work based on literature review. Then from viewpoint of academicians or practitioners. So as academicians, we also need to do some research work, for which we also need to do literature review. Once we do literature review, then only we get to know that what is happening around us in our world, what new themes are coming up, or what new areas are in demand on which the more and more research is required. This is only be possible when we are continuously in the process of doing this literature review. We are referring to new things. Okay, so it helps us in developing those research proposals. These research proposals may be for some research grants, maybe for some research projects. Sometimes we make it for PhD admissions. Okay, for all these purposes, we do research, this literature review. Then for conducting research, okay, for pursuing our research, suppose we have chosen the area, suppose that latestly I'm working on in the area of sustainability indexes. Okay, so for that, for finalizing that particular area, I need to do literature review first. I have to go through what existing material is available. Okay, and based on that, I'm able to draw a conclusion that how I can proceed in that particular area to do my research work. Okay, then it also, as academicians, it also helps us in devising and developing new curriculum for our students. Okay, so those who are in teaching maybe for a long time, they might have noticed the curriculum has changed a lot in past few years. Okay, like when we were in our masters, the way we were taught, or the curriculum we studied during our masters is entirely different what we are teaching to our students. Okay, the pedagogy has changed, the concepts has changed, the curriculum, everything has changed. Only the name of the title and in fact the title of the papers has changed with time. Okay, And as practitioners, we do, those who are corporate managers or maybe those who are consultants, they also do their literature review. Why? Because they have to plan out some action to be taken based on which they actually work. Maybe some problem is given to them in an industry, and they have to reach to some conclusion. How they will reach to the conclusion? When they are also doing the review of existing literature. Maybe somebody has already done any kind of study in past, they have to refer that study, that what has been done so far, so that they can proceed further with the study. Okay, so these are the objectives based on which different people do different type of literature review as per their need. Okay, then what is the importance of literature review? Why do we do that? So first and foremost, or immediate reaction that I generally get from my class is identifying the gaps. Okay, so there are thousands and lakhs of students are doing their PhDs right now. So they do literature review. That is why they spend such a huge time on literature review, so as to identify the gaps in literature. We refer to thousands of paper. Okay, then we narrow down these thousands of papers to few hundred papers, so as to identify that what is something which is missing in that area, or what is something which is not deeply researched so far, which forms the gap in the literature, which shows the vacuum in that literature. Now, to identify the vacuum, that gap, we need to do the literature review. It has to be done thoroughly, in detail, in depth. Okay, it should not be like whatever material or whatever resources I have, I just scanned my resources and I reached to any conclusion that no research was done on this particular area. So this is not a proper literature review. Okay, I have to try my level best to access most of the resources, to get maximum literature available on that particular area, so as to reach to that gap which is there in literature, which will further form objectives of our study. Okay, and these objectives also related to identifying the research problem, where the problem is, based on which we actually reach to the objective of the study. We further use this literature review in development or refinement of research questions. Okay, based on which some question arises when we do research literature review. Some questions comes into our mind, because we are spending lot of time on the same topic. So definitely it is natural that some questions pop up in our mind while doing this review. Okay, which takes us to these research questions, which takes us to the objective, which motivates us to work on that particular topic. Okay, which motivates us to move ahead in research on that particular topic. It also helps in description of strength and weaknesses of designs and methods of inquiry, and instruments that are used in earlier research work. So not just defining objectives, not just getting the research questions from literature review. Sometimes we do literature review also to know that what methodology I need to use. Okay, I have studied maybe more than hundreds of papers on a particular area, on a particular theme, to find out that what methods are being used by a number of researchers in past. I may try some different method to analyze the same thing. So that is how we reach to, or how we design our research, how we design the methodology that we are supposed to adopt. So this is also extracted with the help of literature review. Then it also helps the researcher to avoid duplication. Till the time we are not doing thorough literature review, we don't know what literature is already existing. So if we are doing our research work without checking whether something is available or not, then later we may get into the case of plagiarism and copying and all these things, which is considered to be the academic crime. So in order to avoid those consequences, in order to avoid such duplication of work, it is better to do our research work completely, thoroughly, in depth and properly. Okay. Once we are done with this, at least we are not in the situation of this duplication of work which is already existing. Okay, so that is why we need to do our literature review in detail. Then after importance, I would like to discuss few sources, okay, from where we actually gathered the data for our literature review. Okay. As I mentioned, there may be multiple sources even when we are talking to somebody, or the personal communication can also form the data for our literature review. So few of the sources I've mentioned here, as we can see, there may be the electronic databases. Okay, few of them are like freely available from where we can gather the data. Like few resources, like few magazines, newspapers, they are free of cost. We can download it. Okay, then there are journals, or we can also say some open access journals are there from where we can download the papers for free. Okay, and as I just now mentioned, the proxy servers are available nowadays, where people get free access to some research papers or articles. So these are the electronic databases from where we can get the data for research work. Okay, so and apart from these electronic databases, we have various magazines and newspapers also. Okay, like we can get the information from magazine and newspapers in the form of article. Okay, suppose we are working on maybe climate change. So every alternate day or every Saturday, Sunday, we are getting numerous articles that are being published in magazines and newspaper related to climate change. Okay, this may also form the part of our review of literature. Then books. Okay, so try to access as latest as possible. Okay, the data that is more newer as compared to the old one. Okay, then books, the data is available in various books also. Okay, the information is available, this theoretical information is available in the books. So we can also use these books to be referred during our literature review. Then journals articles, we all know the papers, the research papers that are being published in journals can clearly form the base for literature review. Then of course the conference papers, sometimes these papers are published in the form of proceedings. Then of course we can use these papers as a reference for our literature review. And even if we have participated in some conference and somebody has presented any paper and we found that paper or maybe the content that he or she might have presented is relevant to my topic, that I can refer that material in my research paper or my thesis as well, and I can mention that I have referred to that conference paper for my research work. So yes, the papers that are being presented in conferences can also be referred for our literature review. Then various theses and dissertations. Okay, we can refer to theses and dissertations which are available in libraries of our universities. And then there are Shodh Ganga is a website where these theses are available. Okay, we can download theses and we can refer to these theses and various MPhil or PG dissertation to see that what kind of work was done in past which is related to your particular topic of research. Okay, then not just this, then number of research reports that are being published by a number of companies like this McKinsey, Bain. Okay, then these kind of consultancy firms from time to time they publish various type of research reports because they're regularly doing researches on different areas. So they are publishing these reports from time to time. Some government organizations also publish these reports. There are websites like Strata and Statistica, etc., which we can access to get these kind of reports which are available on these websites. So we can use this data which may form the base for our research report. So we should not limit ourselves to one or two sources for gathering the data for literature review. Rather, we should try to access as much as sources to getting so as to gather the data which may be used for our literature review. Okay. Then next is types. There are a number of types of literature review. Okay, with time, these types of literature review is changing. Okay, like when I did my PhD, at that time, this narrative or traditional review of literature used to be done. Okay, those who have done their PhD long time back, they might have seen, or if you have the access to some old theses which are available in your libraries, you can see that the literature review chapter is like, compilation in the form of paragraphs. Okay. In this method, we generally critically analyze and summarize the literature to draw some conclusion about the topic. So like it is something which is related to detailed examination of existing literature. We are just reading it. We are, reiterating it in our own words. We are comparing it. Okay, we are evaluating it from our own perspective or from different perspectives that are available, and we are compiling it systematically to present it in the form of a chapter of thesis. Okay, based on which, of course, we reach to some gap in literature, and based on which we further go for the objectives that are available. So this is, as mentioned, was a traditional way of presenting literature review, but with time this way has changed. Okay, this traditional review of literature has changed to systematic review of literature. Okay, so after some time, again I have seen this about 10 to 12 years ago, when this traditional literature was replaced by systematic review of literature. Now people started, or the researchers, not just reading it, analyzing it, but they try to present it more systematically. Okay, so this method uses more defined approach, well-defined approach. Okay, it is mainly used for making a complete list of all published and unpublished studies related to a particular topic. So it is like a data bank, okay, or a bank of those, references or those papers which are already published on this. So we also gathered, or we also make a folder in our paper. We used to make a folder in our paper wherein we save all these papers in our computer. So it is not only about keeping it in our folder, but also presenting it in the form of system. We started analyzing the list which is available with us. Okay, which is further changed. Okay, the concept has changed, and now the words bibliometric analysis, if you have heard the word, or scientometric analysis, these kind of words are now used. We are deeply analyzing the content of this list of published and unpublished papers that are available. I'll show you the example of all of these, at least first two of these literature reviews that are existing with us, because so far in social sciences, in researches related to social sciences, we were using narrative, and we are now using systematic, and latestly we are using bibliometric and cytometric analysis for literature review. Okay, then there is a separate thing called meta-analysis or meta-synthesis that is available. Again, there is a thin line difference between a meta-analysis and meta-synthesis. Basically, meta-analysis is something that focuses on quantitative data. Okay, so numbers are there. So this type of review takes large quantitative findings and conduct a statistical analysis to integrate to those findings in order to enhance the understanding. Okay, so basically they are using the results of the already existing or published research paper. The results are used. Okay, some similarity or some patterns are being studied in this. So in a way, we use different type of statistical tools to reach to some conclusion. Okay, this is done to examine the strength of results of the studies that are existing. So how powerful these results were that are already published. Okay, it is done to detect if some common trend is existing. Okay, this kind of analysis is done majorly in medical researches. Okay, just to see the pattern. Okay, to see some common features that are existing, based on which they may make some kind of medicines, or they use some kind of drug, or may find out resolution to some problems that might be around us. This kind of researches or review is done in psychology related subjects. Okay, again, where some patterns or the results are used to reach to some conclusion. So in such cases, this meta analysis is used. Then another thing is meta synthesis. Okay, it is a qualitative study of existing literature. So in this study, a non-statistical methods non-statistical methods are used to integrate and evaluate and interpret the findings of multiple similar quantitative studies. Okay, there are a number of multiple similar and quantitative studies are available. Okay, these quantitative studies are used. Okay, these are used to analyze and again to reach to some conclusion. This is done to reinterpret the meaning across many qualitative studies. So there are, number of studies are available. You are studying these, you are analyzing these studies to reinterpret the meaning of for whatever purpose you are doing this study. So basically the focus here in meta synthesis is on qualitative terms rather than quantitative terms. In meta analysis they use results. Okay, in meta synthesis they use the pattern, the process basically. Okay, when we are using these studies, they themselves cannot take us to any conclusion. We have to compile them to reach to some conclusion. It needs to be further interpreted. Okay, like these kind of studies or this kind of review like meta synthesis is done in the case of or in the subjects like history. Okay, something that has happened, it has no conclusion. Okay, but you are reinterpreting it in your view. Okay, what is your thought on that? It is generally done in the case of literature. Okay, when the language is done, something which is existing is existing. Okay, it cannot be changed. Okay, the quality is existing, the qualitative things are existing, but how you are interpreting this, for that very purpose this meta synthesis is used. Okay, so these are different type of literature reviews which are available or which we as researcher use as per our need. I'll show you samples of these as well. Okay, then the steps that we need to follow when we are doing literature review. So majorly we have these 4 or 5 steps that we do while doing literature review. So we start with annotated bibliography. Now, what do we mean by annotated bibliography? In this, the researcher actually read the articles. So whatever coming in front, whatever we are getting from whatever source we are getting, we are reading it. We are reading various articles, we are reading papers, we are reading books, we are reading newspapers, we are reading magazines, so we are reading blogs. So whatever coming to us related to my topic, I'm reading it. Okay, as a researcher. Then I start writing or taking notes based on that. Okay, so we can write it so that we can memorize it. We start writing a brief or critical synopsis of what we are, studying or what we are reading. This is done to get the idea of my area, idea of my, topic. Okay, so that I can gather more and more references that may be added with time and that may be compared. Okay, maybe in first month I round of that 20 papers. So in next month, when I'm going to read another 25 or 30 papers, I can compare these new 30 papers with those old 20 papers. So I can have the comparison between these two. So this is how slowly and steadily I will form that bibliography that may be used for my review of literature. Okay, now once I'm ready with this bibliography, okay, I've gathered the papers, maximum papers possible related to my literature work. The next step that I will do is thematic organization. Okay, so I've gathered whatever or from wherever I'm getting. Now I have to scrutinize, I have to reduce this to what I want. Okay, to my topic. Okay, so according to theme, I have to segregate them. Okay, I have to segregate these literatures or these articles that I have gathered in first step. Okay, so this is done to find the most common themes of research topics. Okay, to organize the literature according to the themes and sub-themes. Okay, so this is how we, organize our literature that is available to us. Now, once I have segregated, okay, the next step is to form the relation between these themes. Now, when I have separated, I have made multiple themes under one particular topic. I have to relate them. Okay, It cannot come out of the blue. There must be relation between these themes. If these themes are related, then only I can keep these themes in my study. If maybe out of 5 themes, one is something which cannot be related to any of these, I have to drop it out of my research work. That means it is beyond the scope of my research work. Okay, so this is how I thematically organize my research work. And then I will coming back to the first step and go for more reading. Okay, this is done for better understanding of the topic. Now, this is done to discover more relevant material to the study. Okay, or maybe related to the methodology. I will try to dig out more and more, material that may be available, which might be left mistakenly left in the first step. Now I will try to look for those more material, and this has to be done on a regular basis so as to upgrade my research work, to keep it up to date. Okay, and once I'm done with this reading thing, and now I am confined, I'm happy with what I have in the form of literature with me, I will start writing. I will start writing individual sections as per the themes. Okay, suppose I have 4 themes. So I will write my view based on whatever material I have in individual sections. And at last, I will integrate these sections. I will tie all these sections together, okay, which are mentioned in various sub-themes, mentioned as various sub-themes. And I will finally have the body of literature. Okay, once I have the body of literature, I have to complete my chapter by adding introduction and conclusion to this. Okay, so this is how I organize my review. Okay, so it should not be abruptly start or abruptly end. I should not start my chapter with the name or with some article, or should not be ended with some name or article. It should have proper introduction, okay, wherein I will give a brief about my general topic, the issue, the area of research. I will provide appropriate context of review. Then it may also include the motivation of my research, why I am working on this particular topic. Okay, it should highlight or points out the trend. Okay, trend, how the research papers are published, when the first paper was published, and how the trend is going on since then. Okay, and if some conflicts are available in that particular area, if some gaps are there, okay, this should be briefly mentioned in the introduction. Then we have the body of our review, as we have mentioned in the previous step. And finally, we will end with the conclusion, wherein we will summarize the major contribution of significant studies that are being existing. Okay, we will also evaluate the state of research work. What is the situation of research work right now on the basis of what we have mentioned in the body of review. Okay, and then we will finally conclude it by providing the insight or the gap in literature. Okay, that will further form the methodology or our research design. Okay, so this is how we organize our review of literature. And so till now we are done with our review literature chapter, and there are certain characteristics of good literature review, and these characteristics should be, these are very minimum but not to be left out kind of things. If any of these is missing, your literature review is of no use. Okay, so it should be comprehensive, it should be thorough, and it should be up to date. So it should not happen, suppose I am taking the admission in my PhD in 2020. Okay, in 2020, I have done my literature review. Now I'm submitting it in 2024, my thesis in 2024. And the last paper that I have included in my literature review was of year 2020. So it should not happen. So when I'm submitting in the thesis in year 2024, I should update my literature review up to 2023. Okay, so as to know what new developments has been made in my area during my research work as well. Okay, so I need to keep my literature review up to date as well. It should be systematic. It should not be abruptly, just we need to put on the studies in one thing and that is all and it's done. It should not happen like that. There should be some systematic way in which my literature should be presented. Okay, then your literature should be reproducible. Okay, it should not happen that you have presented or it included such limited studies that nobody can use your literature. Nowadays, research papers based on literature reviews are published. Now, people are using, researchers like us are using these research papers to know what is the status of research in one particular area. Okay. And so when you are doing your literature review, you should also try to take out a research paper out of that chapter, and then it should be done in such a manner that it may be used by further researchers. Okay, and it should be unbiased. Okay, so it should not happen that I have decided my objectives in advance and accordingly I'm going to do my literature review. Suppose I want to do some study on financial markets in India. Okay, maybe on let's make it precise, if I want to do some study on maybe BSE index in India. Okay, Sensex. Okay, and I am only putting those studies in my literature review which are not using Sensex at all, and ultimately I'm giving a conclusion there are no studies available on Sensex. So it is a kind of bias study. I'm not referring those studies in which BSE Sensex is there, existing, used. Okay, so I'm doing something wrong. It is not ethically right when it comes to the research. So I should do it in an unbiased manner. I should not be biased when I'm doing my literature review. Then only I would be able to reach to a proper or a clear picture of my research work. Okay, so these are the basic characteristics, or I think these are the basic though major characteristics of a good literature review. Then there are certain common errors which are generally made and we should avoid making it when we are doing our literature review. Like sometimes the literature review is not logically organized. Okay, we sometimes missing organizing it logically. It should be maybe made year-wise, okay, in a chronological order, or maybe country-wise, maybe it depends upon what kind of research you are doing and how important is it to present it, how you are supposed to present it to get a clear picture of your research work. Okay, it should generally, it should not be like that. It is not focusing on important, aspect of your research work. So it should not happen. So when you are talking about stock markets, so your research work should be, or the literature review papers should be, related to the stock market. It should not be done randomly, like you're doing something on maybe capital markets, wherein you're including every possible thing. Okay, it should not be on maybe financial system where you are including banking, non-banking financial institutions or other financial institutions as well. Okay, so it should properly focus on the area of research wherein you are working. Okay, it should not be like, means a random literature should not be there. It should be related to your study. Okay, the topic on which you are working. Then it should not be too few or outdated or missing references. I've seen PhDs wherein people have hardly done 20-25 reviews, hardly referred to 20-25 papers, and they have written the whole PhD based on these 20-25 papers. Okay, I've seen such PhDs. So I'm sorry to say if such kind of PhDs are, happening. So ultimately what we are producing, okay, then we struggle for jobs later, and we see the most of the positions are vacant in the university, but still the authorities says that we are not able to find a suitable candidate. How would they able to find the suitable candidate when we as academicians are doing something unethical? Okay, we are not teaching or we are not guiding our students properly to do their research work, and then we and then the authorities expect to have that quality teachers in future or quality researchers in future. So this should not happen. You should be really fair and do your research work with all ethics that should be applicable in research work. And it should not be like that doesn't argue a point. Okay, again, it should be presented in such a way that it is focusing or narrowing down to one particular area, or it may lead to some gap in literature. It should be presented in such a way that it shows that something is missing. Okay, that missing part is something you are going to work on, right? then it should not be like that, which is a series of disjoint summaries. You are just summarizing few papers and putting it in one chapter, and this is how your literature review is done. It should not be like that. It should be presented like a story. What has happened, how trend is changing, where we have reached now, what was not done so far, what you are going to do. It should be presented in such a way, right? So these are the few basic errors which we do while doing literature or literature review that may be avoided. Okay, that should be avoided rather. So that is all theory about review of literature. I would like to show some samples of these types of literature as I mentioned. Just a minute. Okay. So, okay, I don't have any ready copy of this traditional or narrative literature, but it can be seen anywhere. Okay, any wheresoever it is done in the paragraph form, it is clearly available. Then I have a paper published from one of my research work. Okay, stop presenting this. I want to show you this paper, which is a systematic review of literature. Okay. So I hope this is visible. So it is a literature review paper which was published on financial market contagion. As I mentioned, my topic should be narrowed and clear. So it is about financial market contagion only. So it includes only those studies which are based on this financial market contagion. So this paper includes study of about 104 research papers which are thoroughly studied, analyzed. First of all, thousands of papers are referred, which are narrowed down to few hundreds. And out of those few hundreds, only these 104 papers are, contributed to this research paper as the data for this literature review paper. Okay. And based on this, we have done, so again, the introduction is written wherein the base of contagion thing is given, how this concept was propagated, and what is the situation of this particular area of research, okay, in market right now. Then what is the rationale of the study, why this study was conducted, what are the objectives behind this study, okay, then different methodology which are used for analyzing the review is done. So here, see, this first figure shows the basis on which the data means the literature is classified. So the literature is classified on the basis of methodology, on the basis of years in which the papers were published, the countries from which the papers are published, the samples, sample years means number of years that are used as sample in these 104 papers, sample countries, number of countries that are used in these papers, the sources from where the papers are downloaded, and the type of sectors, okay, which are included in this 104 papers. Okay, this is further studied, and this step is like on the basis of methodology, we have seen that out of 24 papers, there are 22 papers who have used correlation. Then DCC is used by 26 papers. So other methodologies, the papers are classified on the basis of methodologies further as well. So the conclusion can be made out of this that most of the papers have used DCC or this one, Garch model for the purpose of analysis. Okay. So going further, see, the same thing is presented with the help of this figure. Okay, then year-wise classification of literature review is given. So from this figure, we can see that maximum number of papers out of this 104 are published in year 2015. Okay, since it was an old paper, it was published in year 2017. So only papers that were published in 2000, so since it was published in 2017, so it must be submitted in 2016. So few papers that were published till then were only included in 16, but we can see that the trend is rising when it comes to the literature on financial market contagion. Then the same data is presented in the form of table. And then the country-wise analysis is also given, which shows that the maximum number of papers are presented or published from US. So the maximum authors or reviewers or researchers who are working on financial market contagion belongs to USA. Okay, So this is how this is. Then again, number of years that are used as sample data. So there are maximum number of studies who have used 1 to 5 years of data as their sample. Okay. Then when it comes to countries, so there are 40 papers which have used 6 to 10 countries as a sample countries for their data. So this is how we can classify them. These are the number of name of journals from where the papers are downloaded, okay, which are used. Then this includes some working papers. Like I said, gray literature also, there are 20 papers which are from gray literature. Okay, like it includes conference papers, working papers, etc. Okay. Then when it comes to various, sectors in which the work is done, so we can see that out of this 104 papers, 56% papers works on stock market contagion. Then further classification is there. Some have worked on bond market, some has included stock market with some other markets, forex markets, and maybe combination. So this is how the sector-wise classification of the same thing can be seen. So this is how we can work on a literature review paper as well. Okay, so, okay, then I want to show you one thesis. Okay. I have to stop presenting this. I can also show you one thesis. Okay, this was a thesis which was awarded in year 2020. This is one of my scholar, okay, who has worked on his literature review. I'll jump to the literature review chapter directly. Okay, this is the literature review chapter. Okay, again, the introduction part is given. So as I mentioned, we need to give the introduction since he worked on the derivatives market. So he gave the brief about derivative market, how and what kind of data is used, what kind of, tools are used by different, authors. Okay, everything is mentioned, and this introduction is, connected to this literature part. Okay, then again, he has also used similar methodology to classify the data. Okay, he has classified the data. Now, one thing is done. He has classified the data on the basis of different countries. Like he has done the literature review for Indian studies as well as for international studies. Okay, so as to have the clear idea that what kind of studies are existing in India when it comes to the derivative markets. Okay, so this is how he reached to this conclusion that what is the clear gap when we are studying the Indian derivative market. So based on which he has worked on, his research work. So this presentation is similar. So then I want to show you some newer version of this as well, which I was talking about is bibliometric analysis. Just give me 1 minute. Okay. So this is one of my recent paper. Okay, this paper is submitted to Journal of Sustainable Finance and Investment. So as I mentioned that recently I'm working on sustainable stock indices. So again, this is a paper based on bibliometric analysis. It included papers from year 2001 to 2002. Okay, again, the introduction part, I'm skipping this theory part. I'm just coming to the analysis part, how the latest analysis is being presented when it comes to review of literature. So now we don't use those tables much. Okay, we use our software for the analysis purpose. We use Scopus database to get the data downloaded, and we get the list of papers, okay, list of papers in the form of Excel sheets. Okay, we need to use this Excel sheet like we are using any other data for the purpose of analysis. And this is how we do the analysis. Like what kind of data we are using? We are using again research articles, conference papers, book chapters, thesis, working papers. So in all 222 papers are used for this analysis. Okay, these are the countries, okay, from where these documents are, published or submitted for publication, and how many citations are available, how many times these papers are being cited. Then what are the different keywords which are mostly searched on Google? What keywords generally people use to search these kind of papers? Okay, everything we get from the Scopus database. Then most prolific authors on the basis of highest number of citations. So when we are talking about sustainable finance, Gracia is someone who is widely known. Okay, he has published only 2 documents, or only 2 documents are yes. I thought somebody was saying something. Okay, fine. So I was talking about this. So Gracia is someone who has published or only 2 documents are available or accessible, but it has 1133 citations for these 2 documents. So this is something widely cited paper related to this particular area. Okay, again, related to contributors. So the same things can be presented using the diagrams as well. So this is how we narrow down our studies. Like, we have downloaded 1200 papers on sustainable indexes from Scopus, 961 papers from Web of Science, and the number is missing, but some papers are downloaded from Google Scholars as well. So in all, some duplicacy is there. Definitely the papers who are there in Scopus database are also available in Web of Science or Google Scholars. So after removing the duplicacy, we have reached to 1284 papers. Now, out of 1284, we can found only 1202 papers which are related to sustainable stock indices. And out of this, only 877 were further removed in screening phase. And we have now 325 articles which are assessed for the eligibility of this particular test. And after again eliminating 103 papers, we finally reached to 222 papers which are considered for this literature review paper. Okay. And again, the data is classified. The papers, these 222 papers are classified on the basis of number of publications per year. So out of this, we can see 2019 has maximum numbers of paper. Then when we are seeing the geographical distribution, so we can see that the places which are highlighted in red have the maximum papers, in green have the maximum papers, and the one which are highlighted in red has the minimum papers. Okay, so green shows the maximum papers, and as we go beyond, we'll see that how the number or the frequency of publications are reducing. Okay, country-wise classification is there. Then on the basis of keywords which are frequently used for searching these papers. Then authors, when we are searching the papers with the name of authors. Okay. These are on the basis of authors only. Then journals. Sometimes we refer a particular journal, like Journal of Business Ethics. This is the most searched journal when we are talking about sustainable finance. Okay. Then, so this is how basically we do our bibliometric analysis. Then there is another term known as psychometric analysis or psychometric review, which is also available. So that is all from my side. If you want me to show it to you as well, but it is like a synonym to bibliometric analysis only. So if you have any question, I'm here. You may ask.
The session is open for discussion. You can unmute and interact with the resource person, or you can post the questions in the chat box also. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you all.
Okay. Somebody mentioned that whether review of literature and literature review is same. Yes, it is same. Thank you so much, dear Ramesh Babuji, for your words, kind words. So.
Ma'am, can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes, please.
Ma'am, what would be the minimum number of papers to write a good review of literature, ma'am?
So as I've just shown you this latest research paper on bibliometric analysis, so there is no minimum number or maximum number. Like we have more than 2,000 papers. Okay, after screening and reducing it, we have reached to 222 papers to do our literature review on sustainable indexes or sustainable stock indexes only.
Okay, ma'am.
And in 2017, when I have published my systematic literature review paper, I have used around 100 papers only.
Okay,
So
yes, ma'am.
depends upon your area. It depends on what kind of literature is available. It may also be possible that you are working in on such an area where much literature is not available.
Yes, yes, ma'am. That's what.
Like right now, I just came across a term that is bond equity earning ratio, which we call
Okay, ma'am.
year. Okay, so when I Google this term, I generally don't find any research paper based on that.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so sometimes this situation will also happen. So
Okay.
again, there is no minimum or no maximum range when it comes to literature review. It's all about understanding of the subject, to have the idea of the subject, that
Up.
what is the status of research. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. It was very helpful, actually. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, ma'am.
Very good
Ma'am,
evening.
good evening.
Yes,
Hello,
Shanti
ma'am.
ma'am. Yes, Shanti ma'am,
Uh,
I can hear you, please.
Ma'am, you were talking about that meta-analysis and meta-synthesis, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Is that applicable to social science, ma'am?
See, I have never used it. Yes, there are people who are actually using it for social science researches as well. Now, it depends on the kind of research you are doing. Basically, what I came across when I was reading a research paper, as I referred from this H.M. Cooper only, okay, wherein she has mentioned that meta-analysis is something which is generally used for medical terms, okay, or medicine-related studies, wherein we see the trend. Okay, even sometime, and while meta synthesis is something wherein we focus on qualitative thing. So sometimes people from social work use meta synthesis also for analysis. Okay, where the quality matters, but not the quantity, where the number doesn't play any role. Okay. So I personally have not used meta-analysis or meta-synthesis, but yes, this is it is in my bucket list. Right now, I recently worked on bibliometric analysis. Currently, I'm working on psychometric analysis. And maybe in future, very soon, I will try to work on meta-analysis as well for literature review.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, I have seen in many studies, ma'am,
Hmm.
that they have done meta-analysis, something like that. It is mentioned, ma'am.
Hmm.
But again, I was not clear, so because of that only, I had
Yes,
put this question in
it
front of you, ma'am.
definitely can be used if you are using the results of any studies. Okay, if you are using the results, like what we are doing in social sciences, we are reading the articles. Okay, we are seeing that what data these people have used, what methodology these people have used, and what conclusion they have made. Based on this, we are doing our literature review so far. But when we are using the results, only the results to reach to some conclusion, yes, the meta-analysis is possible, definitely possible in social sciences. But it is applicable, as per my understanding, this is applicable in case where we have that quantitative data available with us.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Now, can you please elaborate the difference between a review of literature and literature review? Is it one and the same?
Yeah, I've started from this question only. I think it is mentioned in the chat box. So yes, review of literature and literature review is one and the same thing.
Any other questions?
Can you please send the feedback link again?
Ma'am, such a wonderful
Thank you.
session, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
It was an eye-opening. You gave lot of information regarding review of literature, ma'am. Really,
Messages were
we learned. It was a very good learning session for us, ma'am.
Thank you so much for your kind words, ma'am. Here is my email ID. In future also, if you want to get in touch with me, I will be happy to get in touch with any of you.
Ma'am, please share brochure in this group also, ma'am. Whenever you act as a resource person for any of the program, ma'am, so that we can join that program.
I think Vijaya madam can do that. Sure. Thank you so
We
much.
will be
Ma'am.
doing. Ma'am, think there are no more questions.
Yeah, sure.
Shall we wind up?
From my side, it's done. If any of
மூணு புள்ளி இந்த சைடுல இருந்து நான் இன்ஃபார்ம் மெசேஜ் போட்டு எடுத்துட்டேன் பாருங்க. அது
எடுத்துட்டியா?
லிங்க் எடுங்க.
ஓ, correct.
On behalf of Anna Violet Arts and Science College, Ambattur, Chennai, IQAC, and Department of BCom, Accounting and Finance, in association with IOT Academy, we thank Dr. Neha ma'am for the enlightening and enriching session. We thank once again for the excellent presentation, ma'am. We thank you for enhancing understanding with the commendable presentation. We thank you very much for your efforts, ma'am. We thank the faculties of Anna Violet Arts and Science College and the participants for joining the session today. Thank you all.
thank you so much.
Neha ma'am.
Nice meeting
It was
you
an
all. Thank you.
Thank-
Hope to see you all very soon. Thank you. Take care. Have a very good evening.
Thank you, ma'am. You're welcome, ma'am.
Take
Thank you
care.
very much
Bye-bye.
for your efforts, ma'am. Kindly fill the feedback form using the link that has been posted in the chat box. Thank you all.